आपण 1-2 मिनिटं देऊ for people to join. वर्तक सर, तुम्ही पुण्यात आहात का कुठे आहात आज?
पुणे.
ओके.
अरे बाबा, सारखं बाहेर नसतो मी काही, पुण्यातच असतो. जसं काही लोकांना वाटेल. रेकॉर्डिंग चालू केलं.
Yes.
सर, स्टॉप शेअरिंग करता का? नमस्कार. महाराष्ट्र वृक्ष संवर्धिनी आणि सर्वांच्या वतीनं मी सगळ्यांचं स्वागत करते. सध्या आपण वादवर्तक स्मृती व्याख्यानमाला जन्मशताब्दी वर्ष साजरं करत आहोत. त्यानिमित्ताने आज विजय बर्वे सरांचं व्याख्यान आहे. त्यांची ओळख करून देतील राजगोपाल सर. आणि आपण नेहमीसारखा कार्यक्रमाला वेळ न घेता सुरुवात करूया. ओव्हर टू राजगोपाल सर.
Thank you so much, Vartak madam. Thank you very much. Welcome everyone. Hearty welcome to all of you on this beautiful evening. I am Rajgopal Patil and I welcome you on behalf of Maharashtra Vruksha Samvardhini Institute of Naturalist Education and Research, Pune. And we are organizing this in association with IQAC and the Department of Botany, Ramniranjan Jhunjhunwala College, Mumbai. And we are very happy to have you all for this online session. Quick but important housekeeping instructions. Let's keep our microphones on mute when we are not speaking, so that we are able to hear the speaker clearly. And your questions are very welcome, but we will take them at the end of the talk. And during the talk, you can put your questions in the chat box. So let's get started. We continue our series of online talks in memory of well-known botanist and conservationist Dr. V.D. Vartak, sir, in his centenary year. With the monsoon at its peak, those of you who are going to the natural places are undoubtedly seeing these beautiful, small, colorful winged butterflies everywhere. These butterflies are emerging from their cocoons, or the chrysalis as the biologists call them. And you might find a few even on your terrace kadipatta plant, or hovering on the hibiscus flowers. And this is a beginning of a great season to watch them. And we have Dr. Vijay Barve, a very scholarly and talented person, to talk about his research on the life of these tiny wonders. In our program today, Dr. Ajit Vartak sir will introduce our speaker, and Dr. Awad sir of Jhunjhunwala College will do the vote of thanks. I now request Dr. Vartak sir to introduce our speaker.
Good evening, everyone. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce our guest speaker today, Dr. Vijay Barve. Vijay has been a nature enthusiast from childhood with a special love for birds and insects. He did his graduation and master's degree in computer science from Savitribai Phule Pune University. Then he joined a non-profit organization contributing in medicinal plant documentation and conservation issues. He developed a keen interest in biodiversity informatics and has a PhD in geography from the University of Kansas. His doctoral research focused on citizens' contribution to biodiversity data mobilization. His postdoc at the Florida Museum of Natural History focused on community science and butterfly biodiversity informatics, which he followed with postdoctoral research at Purdue University working on terrestrial parasites. Vijay has been involved with the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, both as data mobilization mentor and data user. He also serves on various committees for Biodiversity Information Standards Group. Currently, Vijay is the Digitization Project Manager, Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County, responsible for engaging with all 19 institutions in consortium. He is charged with empowering participants with tools for data cleaning, georeferencing, data importing and exporting to from collection databases, as well as helping consortium uses with creating sustainable pipelines to move specimens data to iDigBio and GBIF beyond the life of the grant. He has received many awards for his work and service. Some of them are Young Researcher Award, Global Biodiversity Information Facility for 2014. He is a two-time recipient of second prize A.B. Nelson Challenge of again Global Biodiversity Information Facility for 2018 and 2019. With this short introduction, now I request Dr. Vijay Barve to deliver his talk. Vijay.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and I will just share some of my life story, so to say. I'll just make sure my screen is visible. Yes, my screen is visible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So
Yes, sir.
I'll go ahead and get started. I will talk in two parts. One is a little bit of my story, my early life, what I did before I really became, so to say, researcher. And then I will talk about a few of my research studies and what conclusions we are drawing from them. I will try to make sure that it is in a very simple language and kind of understandable to everyone. Obviously, there would be a few technical terms and a few things that may not be very easy to understand, but you don't have to understand everything, so to say. So let me go ahead and get started. So before I start talking about my journey, I would like to say that this journey would not have been possible without the support of numerous people, starting with my family, my parents who introduced me to nature and bird watching and supported me throughout, my wife and daughter and all the extended family who has been very supportive and with me all the time in this journey. All my naturalist friends who have been great teachers in the field and on social media to learn about almost everything that I know about birds, butterflies, insects, everything. A lot of citizen scientists through forums like Butterfly India and Diversity India. I will talk briefly about that. All my mentors, professors, teachers, and obviously a lot of researchers and co-authors in my research. So these are all the integral part of this journey, and I'm just presenting all these on behalf of these people rather than just myself. So just to talk a little bit about my early life, especially with insects and butterflies. In my early childhood, maybe when I was about 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, I started collecting insects in some bottles. Not killing them, but try to catch them live, keep them in a bottle and observe them, watch them, what they're doing, are they interacting with each other, things like that. Obviously, it's not a very easy task. Got beaten a few times, got scolded by elders saying, this is not a good thing to do. They're going to bite you or you're going to have some problem. But yeah, for some reason or the other, the interest continued. Actually started learning about a few butterfly names and what butterflies are. During the nature walks, mainly in and around Pune. So obviously people like Prakash Gole, Dr. Ramesh Bidwe, obviously Dr. Vijay Barve. So there are so many experts in Pune who used to take people around to show plants and birds and different aspects of nature and natural history. So started learning about that. This particular butterfly, common Jezebel, is one of the first names for some reason has stuck in my head. A beautiful butterfly. In Marathi, we also call it Haldi Kumkum sometimes. Fairly commonly seen butterfly in and around Pune. At that point of time, obviously there was no internet, there were no websites, and also very few reference books available if one wants to learn about them. So most of the learning was through personal contacts and going out with some of these experts, and that's how we started learning about it. At around 11, 12 years, in my backyard itself, I got to witness a butterfly laying an egg. And in fact, it laid a few eggs, and I continued observing them every day, morning, afternoon, evening. As and when I get time, I'll go out and look at those eggs. In a few days, the eggs hatched into caterpillars. They started growing. They went through 5 different instas. They kept on eating. They kept on growing in size, moving from leaf to leaf. And after about 24, 25 days, it got converted into a really beautiful golden colored pupa or chrysalis, which is a really beautiful thing to watch, almost like a golden pendant. And then after a few years, after a few days again, a beautiful common crow butterfly emerged out of those chrysalis. So experiencing, observing, it's all by myself, finding everything about it myself, and kind of observing this, it kind of really got me hooked to butterflies and butterfly watching. I really kind of got into it, so to say. Then I learned how to collect insects, actually, for scientific collection, how to pin them through the Museum of Arthropoda in Pune. It was a very beautiful museum and a lot of really good activities they used to conduct. So as part of that, there was a insect collection competition, and I learned how to catch and pin insects and actually build a collection, which was a kind of a little bit of formal education about entomology and insect collection for the future. I actually also landed up helping them enrich some of the museum's collection at that point upon their request. So that was a really good experience, and this was when I was like 8th, 9th, 10th grade student. So it was really a lot of learning during that time. My butterfly explorations continued. I continued watching butterflies during my college days and during my early job in Bangalore. Made a lot of good friends who were into butterfly watching and butterfly studies. Krishnamay Kunte from Pune, Arvind from Bangalore, Subhadra Devi from Bangalore, S. Karthikeyan. All these people taught me a lot of basics of identifying and watching butterflies, and I continued rearing some butterflies again in Bangalore with my daughter, for her basically to again experience the same joy that I got myself rearing and watching butterflies. And then in 2001, some of us, we came together and we said, there are a few people watching butterflies. It will be really nice to come together and share this knowledge. But all of us were spread across India. There were about, we thought there were about 20, 25 people who were interested in watching butterflies. And we decided, okay, let's bring them all together. And we formed an email distribution group at that time, which is loosely equivalent to WhatsApp groups of today, and started discussing about butterflies and butterfly watching. Then we started posting our pictures on a website called Flickr, which is again a social media website. In a few years, we started uh, a Facebook group and started uh, sharing all the butterflies and information on that, and WhatsApp groups and so on. There are so many different communities watching butterflies and talking about it. So if you really want to learn about them, please find one of those communities and join so that you can learn more and more about butterflies. So this Butterfly India community really put me in touch with a lot of people like Isaac Khemkar, who has written books on butterflies, and so many different authors and experts across India to start with, and even at a global level. So that was the Butterfly India community was really a good kind of forum to get to know a lot of people. And then, as part of Butterfly India group, we actually started organizing meets, which are a small gathering of 15, 20 people coming together, going together in some forest and watching butterflies. It used to be typically a 3-4 day activity. So this particular picture you see is from the Butterfly India meet in 2006 in Arunachal Pradesh, Jairampur. That was probably the first time there was a formal butterfly meet or a formal biologist gathering of non-experts, non-professional scientists in the northeastern India that we organized. And then from 2004 till 2010, we continued organizing these meets, at least one every year. And then later on, after 2010, so many different groups picked up this activity, and now there are dozens of butterfly meets happen across India every year, and a lot of people come together. So these are very valuable events for documentation and discoveries of butterflies. And this thing didn't even restrict to butterflies. It also spread to moths and spiders and dragonflies and various different groups. So this was a really good initiative that we started. And now getting a little bit to the second part of my kind of butterfly studies and career, kind of starting to formally learn some of the um, research techniques. So how that happened. So I started my PhD program in 2008 in 2009 in University of Kansas. So for that I moved to University of Kansas, and there was this organization on campus called Monarch Watch, which has developed a very interesting little sticker to put on some of the large butterflies to track their migration. Because tracking a butterfly migration is really difficult task. So what they did was they started putting thousands of these stickers on these butterflies, and before that they did a lot of research to make sure that these stickers do not hinder in butterfly flight or movement, and they are able to still continue what the butterflies want to do. And then um, I got to learn a lot about this monarch butterfly tagging program, and then that's when I started learning about some uh, development of some computational models, something uh, putting a lot of data together and making sure that these data trends start making sense. If you talk of biodiversity data or butterfly data, there is always a big gap. There is hardly any data available in most cases. But to try and make the best use of whatever data available using some statistical and computational modeling techniques is what I started learning during that time. So this is my kind of first exposure to actually learning what research is and how you can get involved in research. And then after my PhD program, I was lucky enough to get a postdoctoral researcher position in University of Florida. And there was a very interesting project called Butterfly Net, which was to put together a lot of data about butterflies across the globe. And I got to work with this really amazing team of researchers, those who are into butterfly research and know some of these people would know that this particular photo has like some of the really well-known and top butterfly scientists all in the same group. So I got to interact and work with this group as a project. These are from 6 or 7 different institutions, but working together on this particular project called Butterfly Net. And one of the main goals of this project was to work on multiple large data sets of butterflies of the world, so that will form a basis for a lot of research in future. So this is where I will now start talking a little bit about some technical aspects in my talk about some of the butterfly research I got to do with under this project. So this is the first one. So this particular research was published in this Journal of Global Ecology and Biogeography, looking at in a very simplistic terms, looking at what butterflies are seen in what countries across the globe. So just for a quick reference, there are about 20,000 butterfly species across the world, and there was no single one-stop data set of looking at what butterflies are seen in what country, or every country what butterflies you expect to see. Obviously, it is very difficult to make a very comprehensive and detailed data set, but this was like a first attempt to put it all together. So kind of a brief summary that what we could do was we could actually pull together about data for about 19,000 species. And we covered about 256 countries or territories or units under this particular study. And if you look at the species country combination, we came up with like 8 million these combinations. So each country and each unique species linkages. So basically, it was a huge data set and a big effort by a large team to put this all together. And we also came up with some more numbers, like which are the top ranked countries available. So here, if you quickly look at it, Colombia seems to have kind of largest number of species, almost close to 4,000. Just to give a reference, India has about anywhere between 1,200 to 1,400, depending on how you classify these butterflies. So this is the kind of data set that we put together. And then we started looking at different trends. So this is a map showing a number of species in each of the country based on just the literature. And so as you can see, all the countries in the tropical zone in and around are in bright red, because obviously in near tropics there is higher diversity of butterflies, and as we move towards the poles, the diversity reduces. So this particular map shows it's all the data just based on literature, and this particular map shows all the data based on actual occurrence point, the individual records like INHList or GBIF or wherever the individual records are coming. So these are the richness or number of species in each of the countries, and then this is like the combined picture of what information is available at the time of this particular study from each of the countries, what are the number of species available. And the main conclusions of this particular study was most important. It was a first comprehensive data set of butterfly distributions of the world. The whole analysis confirmed what we kind of already knew, that there is a very strong latitudinal gradient, as I was saying, in the latitudinal range towards equator. There are many more species, and as we start going towards both the poles, the number of species go on decreasing. And our study also highlighted the need of putting both the data from the literature as well as all the research data from different data portals together to really get a complete picture. So these are some of the findings that we had in our study. This is the next one. So what we also thought was, okay, we have now understood the diversity and distribution, but we also need to understand the traits. Traits in the sense, what do the butterflies prefer as habitat? What do they like to eat and things like that. So this is again a large collaboration. Most of these people were in the earlier picture that I showed. So this was published in Scientific Data Journal. So what we decided to do is we decided to collect the measurements on wingspan, how big or small the butterfly is, what habitats these butterflies prefer, where they like to lay eggs, when do they fly, when do they come out, where that's the phenology, and the host plant association, what plants they prefer to lay the eggs. So this is again a very comprehensive data set. For this, what we did was we basically compiled all the resources. Those are available. We scanned those books. We digitized those and then extracted the information, in some cases automatically, in some cases manually, and then all that information was distilled into a database that we call as lab traits. So these are some of the numbers. So from the literature, we could get wingspan for about 8,400 species, and then all these different measurements, basically just telling you numbers of how much information we could get for each of these particular aspect that we wanted to document. So these are the different aspects. And then we wanted to look at where, like, how many resources are available for each of these region. How many resources basically we landed up using for this particular data set. So this is the kind of number of resources that we used, and these are number of records that we could harvest for each of these. So these maps are basically giving an idea of how much data we could compile looking at all these books mainly. And this is just a quick breakup according to the family, how much per family number of species records that we could harvest. So what is the use of this? But all these effort spending 3-4 years putting all these together. So basically, again, establish a largest global butterfly traits data set, which is again openly available if someone wants to do further research based on traits or functional diversity. This data set is available. You can download that and use it for your particular region or particular group of butterflies or whatever you want to do. So that research will be enabled, and this definitely is serving as a foundation for better biogeographical understanding, what butterflies are seen where and kind of why. And then that will definitely help in the conservation implications, because you need to know where and why to save them or conserve them. So this is the second study. I will go through one more study and then we can talk about questions. Again, the whole purpose of describing these studies is not to kind of scare you or show what it is basically to give idea of, as a butterfly researcher, what are the different things that you can do and get into. So the third study was then to put a global phylogeny of these butterflies together to understand certain things. So for those who do not know what phylogeny is, you might have heard of DNA barcodes. So basically putting together butterfly DNA barcodes and then comparing and analyzing them together to understand how they might have evolved and what different aspects of evolution basically. So for this study, what we did was we sequenced 319 different genes for 2,300 species from 90 different countries. So these specimens actually came from 90 different countries. And they came from 28 specimen collections also. These 28 collections contributed those, because you need a physical specimen, part of it, to do a DNA analysis. And in this study, this is the first time we covered 92% of all the genera of butterflies that are currently described. So it's one of the very comprehensive study. There were more than 80 researchers from more than 25 different countries involved in this study to put all these massive data together. And this is the result of the study. So those who actually understand phylogenetics might appreciate the depth of this particular study, but for others, basically all these lines are showing the relationships between closely related species. In the graphic, you can see the pictures of how those butterflies tend to look. So if you see kind of towards lower side, there are all these Hesperidae butterflies, all the keepers. Then as you go right, you see the swallowtails. Then you see the lysinids or the blues. Then you see all the nymphalids, or initially the browns, and then the larger nymphalids. So this is like the whole thing. And finally, you see the pyrids, the yellows and the whites. So this is the whole comprehensive phylogeny covering 2,300 species. And just looking at these diagram and looking at those values, numerous different conclusions can be drawn. So some of the conclusions I will try to quickly share. So what one of the important things that we found out was butterflies started evolving from moths about 105 million years ago. And that happened in what we call as Americas right now. So that's where the diversion started. And then by 90 million years to 75 million years, this kind of slowly started spreading. The occupied Oceania or the Australias of current time. Then they crossed over to Russia probably, and then started kind of getting distributed more widely about between 75 and 60 million years ago. And between 60 and 45 million years ago, as the colors get dark, that means there are more and more species of these butterflies getting evolved. And then 45 to 30 million ago, the kind of diversity hotspots started emerging. And between 30 to 15 million years ago, now you see like the whole globe has different lineages of butterflies already evolved. And this is kind of current picture, as you see that South Americas and Asia has the highest diversity of butterflies. And so this is how slowly the evolution, the movement, and the picture evolved. And all these are conclusions based on this whole massive study that we did with 2,200, 300 butterfly DNAs and how they're related to each other. And these are some of the conclusions on the movements and the number of species that might have moved from one region to other, basically what we call as the dispersals between these regions. So obviously, all these papers are available in open access, and any researchers who are looking at these and want to read more about this, obviously these are available, and I'm happy to share the PDFs also if you want. But this is just a brief idea of how a massive effort with a lot of researchers coming together and spending time can research into. So the most important conclusions of this research, as I was saying, is butterflies kind of started evolving about 100 million years ago from moths. And we also augmented our Lepidoptera data set that I described earlier and the distribution data set with this phylogeny to draw these conclusions. So from the host plant data set, we think that it is most likely that the plants of Fabaceae or the peas is where the first butterfly larva was feeding, and that happened in Americas as we discussed. And looking at all these phylogeny and the host plants, we also realized that most of the butterfly species are specialists that feed on only few plants of one family. There are very few butterflies which feed across the families, and even though they are feeding across the families, those families are very closely related. So these are some of the findings of this particular paper. And that also kind of brings to the end of my talk. I'm happy to answer questions, get into more discussions. So what next for me, as I'm talking about my journey with butterflies? I would definitely continue to explore more diversity and distributions at different scales. I have done a global study. I would definitely love to do a South Asian study or more details. I would also love to look at macro scale, say something like one district, what are the kind of distribution patterns within that district? What are the diversities of different districts or states of India or different countries? So this is what I would love to continue exploring as my research. I'm also keen to learn more about these biotic associations. What are different predators on butterflies? What are different plants that butterflies are dependent for either nectar or food or as larval host plants? And I am definitely keen to engage more and more with citizen scientists or people who are not scientists but would love to contribute their own bit to science and learning uh, more about it. So, contributing their own observations, participating in these small studies. So, these are the kind of directions I would definitely love to explore going forward with my butterfly journey. And thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Barve. You have tackled some of the very interesting questions over these. I think you only showed a small subset of what you have been doing here, and but that itself is very intriguing. And I think I would ask most of the listeners today to go ahead and explore some of these. You can look up on Google Scholar, I guess. So go to scholar.google.com and search on Dr. Barve's name, and I think we should probably be able to see most of these papers out there, and people can take a look at. I think some of these graphics that you showed, they were amazing, and I think they give usually wonderful idea, especially the phylogeny one, and I'm seeing some questions on all of that as well. But before we go to these questions, I think we'll have a quick vote of thanks and do that, and then we can take time for questions. So I will request Awad sir to do his vote of thanks, and then we'll take the questions. Awad sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the organizers of this lecture series, to celebrate late Dr. V.D. Vartak birth centenary year, I'm here to present the formal vote of thanks. It was a very amazing, mesmerizing presentation. On behalf of the organizers, I thank Dr. Vijay Barve, who is expert on biodiversity informatics and citizen science, who has unfolded the journey with wings, tales from butterfly research. I thank him for accepting our invitation and delivering this wonderful online lecture. We express our sincere appreciation to him for his enlightening talk. We are also thankful to all the members of Maharashtra Vruksha Samvardhini, Institute of Natural History Education Society Pune, and the Department of Botany, RJ College Mumbai, involved in making all the arrangements, flyer, and helping in the technical aspects of this particular session, and also for spreading the word. All the participants, teachers from various departments, and the students who have responded to our invitation and are attending this session in such a large number for this program also deserves a special thanks. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel of Mission Devrai for further information. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Awad sir. I would like to remind everyone that our next talk, before we take the questions, I would like to remind everyone that our next talk is going to be on 18th August, that is the third Monday, by Dr. Sandeep Shrotri. And he is going to talk about another very rich biodiverse area, Amazon rainforest, and he'll be talking about birds from that area. And I'm sure some of you probably already have heard of his book on the birds in that region, and he is specifically going to focus on the stamps as well. So it's going to be a wonderful combination of both of these. So do tune in, and we will be sending you the details shortly.
Sir, I have one question,
Yes,
if you
please.
permit.
Absolutely.
Sir, Barve sir, it was you mentioned about the Fabacy members. I was very happy to know this, that all Fabacy members are basically some of the other host plants for these kind of different types of butterflies. Apart from Fabacy, is there any kind of a research conducted about the host plants?
Yes, so
Or the
actually we
associations?
have the global data set, which has, I think, about host plants listed for about 6,000 species of butterflies.
Mhm.
Fabaceae came out to be the family where 100 million years ago, that's when the first butterfly that diverged from moths
Mhm.
actually we think must have fed. Again, we are talking of 100 million years ago. We don't even know what happened 100 years ago. So it's all conclusions based on all the DNA analysis that we have done with those 2,300 species and attaching the host plant for each of these butterfly species and looking at what what must have happened. Again, if you look at my slides or if you read the paper, most of the places you will say probably, because as I said, it's 100 million years ago. What was happening there, we don't know. But whatever current development of science has concluded looking at some of these DNA techniques is what we are kind of drawing our conclusions from. And in 5 or 10 years, this might change. But today's understanding is what I showed through the maps and through the conclusions. And again, it is in the sense of today's, it's again 3 years old already
Yeah.
when the research was published. And using our data and our research, there are other groups and subgroups from our own research teams are now working on specific families and specific groups. So definitely there is a lot more to learn and conclude. But yeah, to
Any correlation
answer
of
your questions,
yeah.
most of the plant families are being used by butterflies, and obviously um, things like Fabaceae are more commonly used.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and I also found it very interesting that just like South America, even South and Southeast Asia was another big source of diversity. And I saw a lot of big, thick arrows pointing out from this region to Australia, to rest of Asia, as well as to Africa. So that I don't know how much contribution the South Asia and Southeast Asia had compared to South America. But it is very interesting. Also, the fact that South America is also leading in diversity, just like it does in birds and few other regions. And no doubt the wonderful Amazonian forest is contributing, but probably not so much in mammals and few other groups. And I found that very fascinating, and it was a wonderful study.
I'm just going through the chat questions. So there was a question about where the data is available. So if you look up these papers, you can definitely find links to the data sets and you can download these data. All these research is open research, open data policy. And I'm happy to share my email address. If you're not able to find the papers, I can definitely share the links to that. My email address is my first name dot last name at gmail.com.
That's easy to remember. Is that
Omkar has a question: how do we reach the conclusions that butterflies originated? Omkar, it's really difficult to just explain it that way. As I said, looking at and analyzing 2,300 DNA barcodes and their dating and how and when they must have started diverging from each other. These are the probable conclusions that we have drawn. And again, once you read the paper, we can communicate more with some of the researchers who were really involved in drawing those conclusions. Again, I'm not a I'm a biodiversity informatician. I'm not a bioinformatician to really understand and explain how these studies are done. My role was to feed in all the distributions and the host plant data, and also helping them resolve all the scientific names so that they are sure of what butterfly they are talking about through the synonymy and stuff like that. That's my role. So I'm also not that qualified to explain you how exactly these conclusions are drawn, but you're most welcome to read the paper, and then I can put you in touch with people who have already worked on those bioinformatics aspects.
Hi, this is Suhas here.
Mhm.
Yes, Suhas, go ahead.
Vijay sir, this is my basic question, but related to the geographical area which butterfly covered. So I do wonder how far this migration do happen, and if there is a migration from one region to other region, do they have the hibernation process?
Okay, so butterfly migration is a very fascinating topic, and we can talk about it for a whole lecture or a whole day. But briefly, there are a few species of butterflies that migrate. Most of the species don't even live that long to migrate. Most of the species of butterflies have a lifespan of only 4 to 6 weeks. But some of the species that have longer lifespan and have need to migrate uh, do rest in the evenings, and some of the species like monarch butterfly, they do congregate in large numbers in central Mexico and they hibernate. Monarch is probably the only butterfly which lives for about 7 8 months. Most of the other butterflies are only 7 8 weeks. So that's the kind of story about it. In India, there are few butterflies of the same group which migrate to avoid rain from Western Ghats, Kerala, Karnataka region to the drier regions to avoid heavy rain and unable to feed. And then once it starts getting too dry in Eastern Ghats and those parts, the next generation again returns to Western Ghats. So that's the migration in Indian context.
So you mean hibernation is not a common practice, common process? It's
Most
very
of the
rare.
butterflies uh, hibernate as pupas.
Okay. Okay.
Pupas can stay for several months and then they emerge in the next season,
Okay. Good. Got what it
but
got.
not as a butterfly insect
Yes.
in
Thank you.
early
Thanks
stage.
a lot. Yeah.
Very interesting. I think there are a couple of questions on the platform and the data that you have used. Dhruv Punde is asking regarding the authenticity of data generated through citizen science initiatives. Citizen science, so many platforms coming up, such wonderful and massive data joining in, and I think these are common questions that are being asked. And probably it would be wonderful, Barve sir, if you can talk a little bit about kind of data is generated and how it can be put to use, and what are the probably some pluses or minuses of such data.
Yeah, so believing in any data is a challenge for that matter. If you talk to any researcher, they may not believe the data from other researchers. So that is like one kind of caution of authenticity. One group may not believe other groups' data, but coming to the citizen science data authenticity, especially for butterflies, we mostly rely on photo documentation. And then with your photo documentation, you kind of build reputation. So uh, that's the process. And then we also have some statistical techniques to find out whether what data you have posted is reasonable or is an anomaly. And then we can always remove some of those outliers if, say. So to give an example, there was some of you might be knowing the bird-wing butterfly, which is one of the largest butterflies in peninsular India. And there was a record from Pune, like around Empress Garden, one bird-wing fluttering around. And then the person who posted, I know the person personally, and I knew that that person is not fooling others. And then when we dig deeper into it, we realize that that butterfly came either as a pupa or a caterpillar. On some plants, those were moved to Empress Garden from southern India. And then it emerged, it probably lived for a few days and it died because it did not have a mate. And then butterflies anyway die in a few weeks. So there could be some records of that sort which we just need to say, okay, if there is only one record, it's probably transported in some anthropological means. Some people have transported either by mistake or for some reason. So these are some of the things, and there are various statistical techniques. And as more and more citizen science data is being generated, there are more and more scientists looking at these techniques to remove those problems and draw best conclusions out of what is available at hand. Because as I always keep saying, there is always a big gap, very big dearth of biodiversity data available to do most of the analysis that we would really love to do. So trying to get whatever we can from whatever little we have is what we are trying to do as biodiversity data scientists.
Exactly. And I think we always have countries like India or other developing countries always had a shortfall of data compared to the developed countries. And I think these mobile platforms, along with cheap data, are doing a wonderful work. And platforms like iNaturalist or GBIF or eBird and all these, they are giving wonderful insights. As you mentioned, it's probably, there are going to be ways to, just like any other data, we have to clean that.
Mm-hmm.
There's another question again on butterflies. That's a wonderful example that you gave. And Dr. Rajashri wants to know why sometimes the butterflies appear in large numbers, just like outbreaks. Any specific weather conditions?
Yeah, it's combination of weather conditions and availability of host plants and things like that. Sometimes non-availability of predators. There are various factors that can lead, and insects have very short life cycles. So sometimes they grow exponentially suddenly, and then at some point resources kind of again bring them back to the expected kind of population size. So yeah, those are mainly the causes of outbreaks, so to say.
Dr. Vishwas Savarkar has mentioned commented very enlightening talk about butterflies, evolutionary history, speciation, and of course, the riot of colors. Roshi would like to know, does the phylogenetic pattern of butterflies help to delineate the groups and regions where there are gaps in knowledge of evolution of specific groups, such as the legumes butterfly associations?
Yes, I mean, if we look at the whole global picture, we still know very little about butterflies. So it's going to be really, really difficult to draw these conclusions. Right now, we can only look at the global distribution data sets and look at how much we have and how much we need more. I mean, we are at that stage. So sometimes I feel that we are still in kindergarten or elementary school and we are thinking about questions that could be answers in graduation or post-graduation level. So we still need a lot of information yet to be collected for many of the species and regions before we really start analyzing and drawing any of these conclusions. So become a citizen scientist and start contributing initially distribution records, learn, and then start counting, start contributing population data, and then we will have something to analyze really.
Correct.
There is
Right.
one hand up, Sunil ji. Please ask your question. You're on mute. Yeah.
Hi, Vijay. I'm Sunil Shastri. I'm an old friend of your father, Vasant Barve.
Okay.
Anyway, I work in the UK and I work in ocean and environmental governance, but currently I'm visiting my mother in Pune. Anyway, I just heard from your father that you are giving a talk. I joined a bit late, but it's a very fascinating talk. I have no expertise at all in this, except that I am what you call as a self-confessed fan of the environment, and ocean and marine environment particularly. Anyway, the reason I wanted to just not really question, but tell you that a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, who's actually a musician and a professor at Newcastle University in the UK, he has, we're talking about monarch butterflies and stuff like that. So he has he has a lot of expertise in, conveying the sort of migration of birds and butterflies and all sorts of animals and everything, and converting that into sort of musical ideas, if, as it were. So he has got this fantastic thing that he did a couple of years ago. It's called Between the Years, and it's called The Flight of the Monarchs. And this was actually broadcast live, broadcast on Radio 3, which is a very prestigious classical music radio station in Britain, BBC Radio 3 as it is called. So I just wanted to point that out, but I have no knowledge about what you do, except that you're Vasant Barve's son. But I'll try to learn more about you, and probably we'll get in touch through LinkedIn or something like that. Or I'll get your contact.
Happy to discuss further, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Yes. Barve sir, there are a couple of few questions actually on butterflies themselves, in terms of how butterflies migrate across such large geographical distances, and how long any species of butterflies migrate, and how butterflies got affected on microclimatic climate effects.
Okay.
So might be easier to take these together.
Yeah. So migration, as I said, it's a very vast topic, but typically butterflies migrating, they take they use thermal currents and try to minimize their energy usage. And so what we have observed with most of these butterflies, they congregate in the night, they take rest. Morning around 8, 9, they start feeding on flowers. They kind of energize themselves, and around 10, 10:30, as the weather starts warming a little bit, they start catching those thermals. They go a little altitude, and then they keep soaring towards their destination. So that's how they migrate. That's how they take breaks and achieve distances. Monarchs are estimated to be migrating about 50 miles a day.
Wow.
So that's much distance they can cover if they get the right weather. It all depends on weather, because if they use a lot of their energy, then they, as you know, that most of the butterflies, they store all their energy while they are in caterpillar stage. As butterfly stage, they only get some nectar, and it's more like a vitamin C source, but they do not get the muscle power or that kind of thing from that. So they really need to conserve that to go all that distance and come back. So how long any species of butterflies migrate? So monarchs are known to be, a single monarch is known to be migrating from southern Canada all the way to central Mexico, and same individual returns up to central Texas at least, because that's where the milkweed plants start, and that's where they need to come back and lay eggs. Painted lady butterflies are known to be traveling the whole Sahara Desert from southern Europe all the way to Central African forests to feed. So these are generational migrations, not a single individual. But that is another long distance migration known. And in India, as I mentioned, from Western Ghats to Eastern Ghats and back, some of the crows and blue tigers do migrate. That's about migration.
Couple of questions on the bioinformatics. Which genes were used for the research
That I think we'll take it offline. I'm not very well qualified to talk about it. We can read the paper and then we can talk to the actual.
Right. Dr. Rajashri, another question. Is there any information regarding the larval taxonomic characters of butterflies with good supporting pictures?
There are some attempts. There are we have Butterflies of India website, which has the larval host plant pictures well identified. There are some international efforts, but there is no comprehensive guide because, as I said, there is no comprehensive data set or guide of butterflies itself. And finding caterpillars and linking them to the right butterflies is another big task itself. So
True.
there are attempts, but there is nothing comprehensive available to best of.
And Rajni Soni would like to know, is there any fossil link to prove the
There
period?
are a few butterfly fossils available, and definitely all that data was considered while building the whole phylogeny and drawing the conclusions. And again, as I said, I'm not a bioinformatician to talk a lot about it. I'm a person who can generate and curate data and provide to whoever who wants to do analysis of that sort. I mean, I can do analysis about diversity and distribution, but not phylogenetic analysis much.
And the amount of data that this is generating is mind-boggling, and I think it is revolutionizing some areas of science. I think like never before. I think you yourself have probably seen from an early stage where it took a while for these platforms to take a root. Can you talk a little bit about how these have developed and what kind of wonderful insights that the data, such citizen science data, is giving us? Anything, any good studies or any good interesting research that comes to your mind?
So just to tell a little bit of story again, when I was in Bangalore, I was exploring again distributions and diversity of medicinal plants with Foundation for Revitalization of Local Health Traditions, which is now Transdisciplinary University of Health Sciences. And we were trying to understand these patterns so that we could put these plants through IUCN processes and look at sustainable harvesting and so many different aspects. And we realized again, there is hardly any data. And I also started learning about species distribution modeling and ecological niche modeling and how these can be used. And then I got this opportunity thanks to my wife who got admission for PhD at University of Kansas. And I thought, okay, I'll go there and learn more about ecological niche modeling and apply that to medicinal plants of India. But when I realized, I started looking for information. To build a model, you need some amount of presence data available, and that was hardly available for leave alone plants, even butterflies, or in early years, even birds.
Right.
Of India. And then we started looking at, okay, then I kind of fine-tuned my research towards exploring more how we can generate these data using citizen science help and platform to really make use into these kind of different studies. And then that meant that I started looking at Facebook, and there was a lot of people who were posting bird or butterfly pictures, but nothing was getting tabulated, which could be readily used. Then slowly platforms like iNaturalist and India Biodiversity Portal and our own platform, Butterflies of India, kind of started evolving. Then it was a big task for convincing people to not just keep using Facebook, but to post these records on some of these platforms so that they get tabulated, they get aggregated, and we can start drawing some conclusions out of that. Again and again, I will say it's very sparse data still, but at least if you look at birds with some platform like eBird, there is sufficient data available to start doing some trend analysis. And in a few years, I'm sure with so many people watching butterflies and interested in butterflies would start contributing to the same kind of with the same efforts and start putting these things together so that we can actually draw some more reliable conclusions. I mean,
Right.
as you said, we are trying to draw conclusions using whatever statistical techniques we can use from whatever little data we have. This is kind of more survival mode. We want a little more that, okay, now we have data, what do we do of these, or are these results that we are drawing are more reliable kind of things. Yeah, that's the journey of citizen science. And now with platforms like Season Watch for plants and Migrant Watch for birds and things like that, there are more and more avenues for people to record their day-to-day observations and contribute. So this is like contributing your own one drop of information or data into the ocean. And once that becomes a sizable thing, then only we can
Correct.
use it for something. So yeah, that's my little brief on how citizen science is growing and why each one of us should try and contribute a little bit so that we can then actually draw some reliable conclusions for conservation and other.
बूंद बूंद से हौद भरने वाला है.
Yes.
Sharma sir, there is another interesting question, but before you take, probably Sharma sir, it would be great if you can give your feedback. You've been listening quite intently, so.
Hello, good evening to everybody.
Good evening, sir.
The talk is no doubt excellent, and I find that this his talk is very inspiring to young ones. How he started initially and grown into a big data scientist, I should say. As he is really good, and butterfly is such a next to birds, very fascinating subject. And in our younger days, certainly every one of us has got attracted to these creatures. So actually, throughout my career, I have been handling butterflies and all other insects. So I know that how any information available till today is scanty in terms of entomological knowledge, or for that matter, the insects are to be understood is a difficult task. And as Dr. Barve himself said, that this is just a drop in the ocean, whatever information we have. And this is something like a evolution, slowly we'll get more and more information. And we'll put up our views like that. So it is very good, very informative and enjoyable talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sharma sir. Vartak sir, would you like to add something? I think while we wait for Vartak sir, there is an interesting question. If we have any picture of any butterfly, I think this is one area where I'm seeing an amazing facilities coming through, and never before in what last so many years people have been trying to identify things. Wonderful opportunities are coming. So he would like to know if you have any picture of any butterfly, we can identify it by putting it in Google Lens, which is easy way to get the identification. Dr. Barve, it would be great if you can extrapolate a little bit on that and where that journey is taking us.
Yes, so Google Lens and other computer vision algorithms are developing fast, but the data that gets fed into it is still again biased, in the sense, unless and until you have hundreds of records from your region fed into that model, it is not going to produce reliable results, because there are always very closely related species of butterflies which are seen in different regions. Like we were talking about monarch butterfly, there is a butterfly called striped tiger, which is seen in India, and earlier Britishers identified that as a monarch butterfly. There are still some specimens in some old collections of plain tiger butterfly labeled as monarch butterfly, because they are very closely related, and unless you have that whole space concept, it is so these models are going to be tricked by that, and that's the reason I would strongly recommend using platforms like iNaturalist, where not only the photograph is identified by computer vision, but it also adds a little bit of geographical concept, and there are people who are looking at your picture and commenting who know how to identify these species. So, and then at the end of the day, again, the records, those are contributed to this biodiversity portal, feed into the global knowledge of. So if you see one butterfly in Pune, you take a picture and put in, that becomes a data point saying, okay, this particular butterfly was spotted in this area and in this season. So all these aspects are then become part of this whole global pool of knowledge that one drop into into the
Right.
into the tank, and then from that later on. So I strongly recommend everyone start using one of these portals and start putting. iNaturalist has an excellent Android and iPhone app. You can take pictures, or your old pictures also you can upload. So, and then there are different people who can help you identify those. I'll recommend you using that rather than just Google it.
Right. That's correct. Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be great if people can add some of their historical data as well to take us into a little bit past here. I think Dr. Vartak just mentioned he got his audio back on. Vartak sir?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Vartak sir, can you hear?
No.
Yeah. Okay, I think looks like he's still having little trouble. Sir, I think, Vartak sir, I think you're on mute.
Thank you, Barve sir. Very interesting and informative lecture. And
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Now I'm able to. Yes.
Okay.
Vijay, thank you very much for sparing time from your busy schedule. And actually, we were looking for a very long time for your presentation. And it was nice that you were here. Thank you. But we'd like to have
Thank
more
you for the
interaction.
opportunity. It's always nice to be able to communicate with people, and especially our own people with whom I grew and learned. So it feels so nice to.
I think whenever you come back to Pune sometimes, we'd like to have your live this thing presentation also, or discussion here in Pune.
Sure, sure.
That will be nice.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
we will stop now.
Yes.
Yes, madam.